Here in Costa Rica, we have a familiar system of streets and avenues that are numbered in a sequence, more or less on a grid, and every building has a street address. Remarkable thing is that no one in this country uses that system for any purpose. They never have. Instead, we rely entirely on an informal system of distances from a traditional landmark, a park, a church, or a phantom location such as an abandoned gas station or a tree that was cut down decades ago. It's a fascinating example of social and municipal dysfunction on a grand scale. So in this video, I'll investigate why the government's system of streets and avenues never took hold here, and explore the obvious and unfortunate consequences. I live in this building that's right behind me. It's called Triangulo. From here, it's about a 15-minute walk into the San Jose city center. I'm at the corner of 29th Street, 12th Avenue, and that cross street in the background is called Route 204. It's easy to look up on Google Maps if you care to do so. However, it would be nearly impossible to find anyone in this country who knows where I am or what I'm even talking about. That's because my official address is not 1004 29th Street. It's 350 meters south of the abandoned restaurant, last building on the right next to the bridge. The color is dark brown. Keep in mind that these are not driving directions. This is the address that I'm required to use for all public and private purposes. That includes mail delivery, law enforcement, emergency services, public utilities, telephone, banking, and everything else. What makes this situation even more baffling is that Costa Rica is not a third world hellhole. It's a modern country, and we enjoy world-class quality of life metrics across the board. Literacy at virtually 100%, an enviable universal healthcare system, 80 years of political and military stability, tourism is booming, and at this moment, the local currency, the Costa Rican colon, is at a 30-year high versus the US dollar. So why are we still stuck with this wildly inefficient scavenger hunt system of trying to find out where we are and where we want to go? My friend Jamie Sanchez is a Costa Rican native. She agreed to add her perspective. So if you were going to tell me how to get to your house, how would you do that?
Well, in Spanish, I would tell you del Parque Okayama, cruzando, llegando a la esquina, 75 metros sureste, casa en alto, color beige.
If I'm going to send you a letter in the mail, what do I put?
Well, usually I will give you my, detailed address, right? What they do is sometimes they will actually have someone try to find you, right? Sometimes the letter does get to you, but it's not guaranteed.
I see.
So if Central Post Office in San Jose can't find your address here, what they'll do is that they'll send it to the local area, the post office there. So you have to go and check with them if they have it by chance. Better an email, right?
Better an email. Better I just walk over and hand it to you.
Yeah.
So how did we get here? Why hasn't the government done something? Well, they have, and they haven't. Here's what my research revealed. The first record of a proposal from the government to have numbered streets and avenues came in 1905. It looked like this. From downtown San Jose, Central Avenue is the axis, odd-numbered avenues to the north, even numbers to the south. From Central Street, odd-numbered streets to the east, even numbers to the west. It takes about a minute to get used to. It appears that this scheme was adopted but never implemented, and nothing happened for the next 70 years. In the late 1970s, the government issued these blue and white enamel street number plaques that were meant to be affixed to all homes and other buildings, which they were because they still exist to this day. Now, one of my neighbors tells me that back in the 70s, she received her plaque, she put it on the side of her house, she attempted to use this street address for official business and to give directions to her home. No one would accept this information and they didn't know what she was talking about. So very quickly, she went back to her old address, which is 50 meters south of the Italian restaurant. Nothing seems to have happened for the next 30 years. That brings us to 2007. Now we have an internet archive that tells us what actually happened and who said what. It appears that the government got serious about this matter. They issued some press releases. The story was picked up by local and international media. Here are some of the highlights. Los Angeles Times, the Postal Service is assigning numbers, street names, and zip codes to every home and building in the country, which they already did in the late 1970s, but why quibble? Mail is just one problem. Emergency crews, cab drivers, utility workers, and delivery people spend an inordinate amount of time on cell phones and knocking on doors to find out where they're supposed to be. Public and private sectors will find an immediate benefit in the reduction of costs in finding addresses. In one article in the Wall Street Journal, the head of Public Works laments that no one can find his office unless he says that it's across from the wholesale fruit market. Costa Rica's president was interviewed and asked if she could name the street in front of the presidential office, and she said, quote, "I couldn't tell you." September 2012, both Reuters and the Tico Times report that the first of 15 to 20,000 street signs are being installed across San Jose and eventually across the country. During a ceremony where the first street signs were installed, San Jose's mayor said, "My current home address is 200 meters north of Pizza Hut, but in a few months I will be able to give a proper street name and number." That might seem like the happy ending of the story and a good place to wrap this up. It is not. More than a century after the government first proposed a system of numbered streets and avenues, 50 years after they handed out street number plaques, 20 years after heads of government went on the record saying, "We'll have this figured out in the next few months," and a decade and a half after the street signs were actually installed across the country, if you ask anyone in this country where they live, where they work, where their mail is supposed to be delivered, where the party is, or where emergency services are needed, you're guaranteed not to hear a street address. Instead, you're going to hear the treasure map references, such as it's next to the river or across the street from the Purple Building. When I discuss this matter with Costa Ricans, they almost invariably say the same thing. Yes, the system's kind of crazy, but it works for us. Well, it does not work for us, and here's just one example of many. In my neighborhood, we have a WhatsApp group chat. Most of the neighbors are on it. It functions as a neighborhood watch. The police are more or less monitoring this chat. If we need emergency services, this is one way that we can ask for help. One night, about 2 in the morning, right here on this spot, right outside my apartment window, there was a disturbance. A group of people playing loud music, starting a campfire, drinking, fistfights, you name it. So I got on our chat and said, "Send the police to Omar Dengo Park." Almost immediately, my neighbors got on the chat and said, "That's not called Omar Dengo Park, it's called Francisco Peralta Park." I replied that no, Francisco Peralta is 2 blocks to the east. That's the one with the eucalyptus trees. My neighbors got back on the chat and said, "No, that park is called Escondido." I replied that no, I'm looking at Google Maps. I'm using the names that have been assigned by the municipal government, and almost certainly these are the names that the police are going to be using in order to find this location. My neighbors countered that it doesn't matter what Google Maps says, and it doesn't matter what the municipal government says. We just called these parks something different a long time ago, and that's the way it is. The police never arrived. The party broke itself up at about 7 a.m. the next day. As you can see, this is not something that I would characterize as quaint or idiosyncratic as it's been portrayed in the international press. I would call it irresponsible. Now, my friend Jamie, who lives 2 miles down the road, has a similar story.
Okay, the name Okayama, everybody knows it, respects it. Okay, El Parque Okayama. But here's the thing. A lot of people started calling it El Parque Chino. El Parque Chino, El Parque Chino.
Because they're all the same,
they're
right?
all the same.
Yeah.
And if you see the bus sign, when the bus passes through here that goes to downtown, it used to say Parque Chino. Now they changed it, to Parque Okayama.
So this park was put here by the Japanese people of Okayama, Japan.
Yes.
And the local people just decided it was called Chinese Park.
Yes. Some
God
people wanted
almighty.
to say it was Chinese park. Well, you might be able to get here, you may not, right? That's crazy.
It's been suggested that the reason we're still forced to use this spectacularly inefficient system of navigation is that in this culture, there's a deeper connection to community and to shared memories. That's why we still use landmarks, even if those landmarks no longer exist. They exist in people's memories, and that's what people here put a premium on. The cold, brutal efficiency of street numbers and zip codes doesn't fill that need. I understand that, and I've witnessed this phenomenon for myself, and I agree. However, that doesn't explain why, if the president of the country, the mayor of the capital city, the head of public works, and the postmaster general are all on record in local and international publications as saying, yes, this system no longer works for us, why they haven't implemented their own system in order to efficiently deliver the mail and dispatch emergency services. The answer is, I don't know, and I can't find anyone who does know. That's the best I can do. So I'll leave you with this quote from the great Yogi Berra, who said, if you don't know where you're going, you might wind up someplace else. Until next time, good luck, and thank you for watching.